Well, I took a break before we get to the big interview that we have. Once again, we got fantastic guests. So I'm fresh back from smashing my head into the hood fan of my stove, Kev. Okay. I ran to get a coffee, and I kind of slipped. And that old hood fan, it just doesn't move. It doesn't move. I thought it would jump out of the way. So we are very pleased to be joined from the latest winners of the Canadian Mixed Doubles Champions. No stranger to the curling world at all. Congratulations to Brett Gallant and Jocelyn Peterman, who, boy, there were a bunch of, I was looking at your record, you guys, along the way. There's a bunch of speed bumps there with all the games you lost. It's tough to interview someone when you guys are perfect. It's like, I can't even go anywhere. What about this? Congratulations, way to go. You must be super pleased. Why don't you go first, Jocelyn? I see Brett has you like shoved away there in the back. There we go. Break it down for us. Talk about the whole week that was.
Yeah. Like you said, it was a great week, but even though our record was perfect, we had some really close games and some ones that we were definitely pretty nervous and not feeling like, each one was an easy game. That's for sure. We had some really close games, and there was a lot of great teams in the field, and to go through a field like that undefeated is something that we're really proud of because, it was a great event and a lot of great teams.
Brett, you guys get along okay out there? Obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, no problems. No problems.
Do you make any bets? Do you like, hey, if you pull this shot off, I'll do the laundry this week. Something like that. No, anything like
No, we have one rule, and it's that Jocelyn's always right.
There you go.
That rule since day one, and it's kind of on and off the ice, and it just helps us get through the week most times, right?
Yeah. How are you guys balancing this to practice? I mean, both of you are high level curlers, of course. We all, like I said, your household names, and you when you're not doing this, you're curling. when you're not curling in mixed doubles, you're curling the rest of your time. How are you doing it?
We've gotten a pile of help from our families, honestly. We have a little guy at home now, and so the grandparents have been helping out huge when we're on the road, and we've even taken Luke with us to a mixed doubles event there earlier in the year, and so that was a lot of fun having him around. But it's nice that we're able to, we both practice at the Glencoe during the season. I'm practicing with Benny most days and Paul from our men's team, but Jocelyn's right there. So if we want to do some mixed doubles practice, it's pretty easy to fit that in. So that's kind of the luxury we didn't have when I was living in Newfoundland and she was in, Winnipeg and Alberta. So it's helped us a lot. Just the ease of getting on the ice together. It's been great.
Yeah, what's the big difference, you guys? Besides the obvious, what is the big difference that Brett? You go first between the two, 4-man and mixed, for you, or what do you find difficult or easy or?
A lot of differences, I guess. You just have to kind of take on more roles on a mixed doubles team because there's only two of you out there, and if you're not trying to do multiple things out there, fill multiple shoes, then you're kind of missing things. So, with the communication and just managing the shots and calling the strategy, like we're both involved kind of in all of that. And I think that's what Jocelyn and I's relationship helps in that sense where, we're comfortable talking about anything with each other and nothing gets left unsaid. So it's, totally different, obviously, than 4-person, just the way the game's played and how fast-paced it is. And, you're never comfortable with it out there. There's so many differences, but, I think, just trying to play as many roles as we can while we're out there and try to fill the void because you're missing 2 players.
Right. Jocelyn, do you have a preference between the two?
I think like Brett said, they're so different, and especially the way, I play front end on my women's team, and then how we do our mixed doubles team is I'm pretty much totally in the house calling line, reading the sheet and putting the broom down. So in a sense, more of kind of a skipping role and throwing last rock. So it's totally different for me in that sense. And it's fun to kind of, use those skills and kind of practice that side of the game. And throwing last rock is fun. You have a lot of big shots or a lot of all or nothing shots where, you're not worried about what you're leaving your teammates. You're just going for it. And if you miss, you miss. And if you make it, it's pretty fun.
Good. Kev, over to you, man.
Yeah, it's really, really fun when you make those last ones. That's for sure. Congratulations, you guys. Fantastic win. I want to talk a little bit about, I guess, the World Championships, because, yes, you won the Olympic trials, we want to call it, but that doesn't guarantee you into the Olympic Games, does it yet? There's still some more work to be done. Brett?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we crossed one of the hurdles, right? The first hurdle, we got over that. But yeah, still only one step along the way. And yeah, but I think for Jocelyn and I, it's pretty exciting to get to another World Championship together. We do feel like we have a little bit of unfinished business there. We've a second and a fifth place kind of on that stage, and Canada's yet to win the gold. So, we have our goals for the World Championship, and it's more than just qualifying for the Olympics. We want to perform to our best and hopefully bring home a medal, if not gold, for Canada.
But it certainly is nice that by winning last week, you do go to the Worlds and be able to put it in your own hands, right, Jocelyn, where, okay, it's in our hands to earn the right to get to the Olympic Games. Well, what is it you have to get in the top 6, is it?
I think there's some moving parts there. They can't, straightforward say top 6. There could be some teams that don't have any points right now that have the week of their lives, and that would change things a little bit. But yeah, I think it's great for us to have that in our hands, and our mindset going into it, like Brett said, is we want to come home as world champions and treat the event that way.
I wonder when, I'll let Warren in just a second here. I was just thinking to myself after watching you guys win that game, I wonder, okay, it's exciting, right? You win, and super pumped. When does it start to set in where you start to sweat bullets because you've got the Team Canada on your back? Like when does that start to sink in, or has it maybe already, Brett?
I mean, it's pretty unreal. I mean, obviously it's not our first time, like we have that experience under our belt. So I think that it makes it all that more exciting, because we know, it's just how awesome it is to have that Maple Leaf on your back. And we've also had that pressure on our backs before. You kind of have that maybe the weight of the Maple Leaf, and you've kind of felt that before, because there is something to that, I think, on that big stage. And so having both experiences is kind of great. I think it's going to be helpful for this situation where you're going to the World Championships, but you're also trying to qualify for the Olympics. It's a double thing. So I think all that experience we've kind of tacked on over the years is going to be great.
All right, so thanks for joining us, you guys, and congratulations. Your play was outstanding for that entire event. It was extremely entertaining. So, as Kevin mentioned, this is the first time this has kind of been done this way, with the actual trials or Canadian Championship, however we want to look at it, being 14 months ahead of the Olympics. How do you like that? Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that should be done again? Maybe should it be even considered for 4-person? What do you think?
Well, I think it's great for, especially the fact that we get to go to the World Championship and to qualify ourselves for the Olympics. I feel like that's something that was kind of missing before. And you get that invaluable just experience. You're playing on a world stage, a few months before the Olympics are. So I think that's great. Our experience with the Beijing Olympics, I think, was a little different than most, where we spent most of our time isolating and practicing for the Olympic Games, and it wasn't. I don't know. We were almost waiting for the Olympic Games to get to us. We were almost itching to play and hoping they could happen sooner, because we were just kind of scared of getting sick beforehand, or scared of them not happening. It was sort of an interesting situation. So we might not be the right people to ask on that, but we're pumped for the way it is. I think Curling Canada has done a good job. I think they knew that the mixed doubles trials were very late before the Olympics in past years, like happening over the new year. I mean, a month after the men's and women's trials, it's pretty tight, and then they start a week ahead of time. So I think they realized that was real tight, maybe probably too tight. And this, I think, gives us, especially Jocelyn and I, you know, we're going to try to be there with our men's and ladies teams as well. So it gives us a lot more time to coordinate our mixed double schedules and coordinate with our men's and women's teams to try to make it all work.
So do you think maybe in the past, maybe the Canadian teams have, by what you're telling us, over-prepared, maybe?
No, I wouldn't say that. No, I wouldn't say we're over-prepared.
But you can over-prepare, you know, if you
I mean,
put too
I'm
much
sure
pressure
it's
on yourself.
possible, but no, like, I honestly, every team's probably different in that regard, but I think a little bit more time is helpful. I mean, we're used to playing these major events. The Brier, you get 6 weeks off beforehand. So, I mean, you have lots of time there to prepare, but you're also used to going event to event and trying to be at your best, you know, with a week to week. So you kind of have to be ready for anything, really.
So let's talk about mixed doubles for a few minutes. And the two of you are playing second now on 4-person teams, but you're in juniors, both skips. Brent winning in 2009 Canadian Championship, Jocelyn in 2012, and now you're playing second. And I look at mixed doubles, in particular Jocelyn, how well you were throwing the last rock when you play second most of the time. I was thinking, does your past as a skip in juniors and probably a bit beyond really help a lot in making that switch from playing second on the 4-person to now throwing the final stone in mixed doubles?
I think so. I mean, I think there's a lot of mental prep that goes into, you know, being able to throw those and not feel the pressure. And I do think I've done a lot of that post juniors as well. But I think, you know, even the other aspects of it and being able to slide into, reading the ice and calling line and things like that. Definitely, you know, rely on, I skipped pretty much my whole junior career. I know that was a long time ago now, but a lot of years of that experience is definitely helpful.
So along the same line of mixed doubles, being one of the designers of the game originally, we did a lot of interesting things, and one of them was one person would throw 3 rocks and the other one would throw the first and last, but it could be interchanged. You could change every end if you wanted to. You could change from game to game as to who threw the first and fifth rocks. Seemingly, we've gotten into a pattern that pretty much everyone that I know of, the female throws first and fifth, and the male throws second, third, and fourth. Why is that never switched up? Why is it done that way? Is it because of the sweeping, the ability to throw the high hard one? What is it?
I don't know. In our case, Jocelyn's too good at throwing the last rock, so I have no interest taking that away. So I don't know. We've honestly never played a single end switched. We started this way about 8 or 10 years ago. Won a Canadian Championship, our first event, and have kind of played this way ever since. You know, we're just trying to fine tune the way we play the game, and haven't honestly changed or given that all that much thought. But yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. We do say I think the first and the last rocks are probably have the most impact on the end. That first stone and where it's placed, and then I mean that last point, that last shot could be anywhere. You could be maybe looking at a steal of 3, or you could have a run back for 4. I mean, there's so much variability in what that last rock might look like and how it could impact the points going on the board. So it's I don't know why it's like that though, Warren. It's a good question. Do you have any thoughts on that yourself? Like,
Don't know. I've asked other people like the question and pretty much got the same answer as we did from you, so I'm not sure. Anyway, another question. Well, it's interesting. So another question about mixed doubles. So you're one of the best sweepers in 4-person in the world, Brett, and probably the best sweeper in mixed doubles, certainly at the Canadian level. How big a role do you think that plays in your play and the fact that you are a very, very strong sweeper, and does that give you a little bit of an edge, do you think, at times?
I think it does for sure. I mean, obviously you're sweeping by yourself most of the time, so any sweeping advantage you can have is great. And you know, I've been pretty comfortable sweeping on both sides of the stone over the years, and Yeah. Like you say, you're just two people out there, and you're trying to do as much you can. So any strengths you have, you use them to your advantage. And um, yeah, with Jocelyn in the house calling line, I mean, I feel really confident that I can just focus on the weight and kind of managing that down there. And it's arguably gotten harder over the years. Switching sides and knifing and sweeping for distance and curl and all of these things. So. Yeah, having that experience and being a strong sweeper, it helps for sure in the doubles. Yeah.
One other question, the power play. So that was brought in by Hugh Milliken about 5 years ago as to an added feature of mixed doubles. And watching the event last week, I was sort of musing on the fact, should there be an opportunity to have more than one power play in a game for each team? Do you think that's something that would be realistic, make things a little more interesting, or maybe not at all?
It would definitely make things more interesting. We, for the most part, used our power play in a defensive method, and the teams we were playing used it offensively. So from that perspective, I would say no, please, no more. But yeah, I don't know.
I think one of the interesting things is you see a lot of teams when the other team calls their power play. Now a lot of people will play the tick and tick the corner guard into the rings.
Yep,
saw
like that.
So we've had the no tick rule now at men's and ladies. I mean, I wonder if that will ever come into mixed double as well, where you can't tick that power play rock. It goes back. It's something maybe to generate a little more offense, because like some teams do try to use it as a little bit of a defensive manner, but.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about it. Originally, when Hugh brought it in, I never thought of it being a defensive play, but it's now used almost as much defensively as offensively, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Brett, just one thing I wanted to ask you about, and that's to do with sweeping. We get a lot of young people that listen and watch this podcast. I guess I'd like to ask you how, because if you're not the best, you're right near it as far as judging a curling stone. To be able to throw the rock, jump up, get into position, and be able to judge it really, really well. What are the kind of the keys to being that good? Because we try to work with kids all the time at all these different academies and stuff, but it's not easy. It's not easy. So is it getting the right level for your eyes early as possible? What do you key on?
I mean, I think my first part of my judging of the rocks really comes from my delivery and my feel for where I actually think I threw the rock, if that makes sense. And I'm by the time I get to the rock, I'm still usually just communicating where I think it was when I let it go, and then from there, I've always thought the more you can communicate, the better. And I think if you keep trying to communicate what the weight is, you're going to get it sooner than if you're just, I don't know, waiting for it to come to you. Because it's just not being afraid to be wrong early on, but just trying to narrow it down as you go up the sheet. And I kind of teach that a little bit if I'm ever doing any coaching. Is just don't be afraid to say where you think the rock is early on in the in the path or in the whatever, in the motion. But if you wait too long, and then you develop the skill, if you're trying to guess where it is early on in the stone's path, then I think you're going to gain, train that skill. You're going to get better at it, and then be more accurate. So.
Well, you're an example we use all the time, and I'm really glad we had a chance to ask you, because it's important. These kids all want to be like you two, and now how are you going to get there?
It's a trained skill, like anything, and I think the more you train it, the better you become too. So, but I think some people are a little bit intimidated to be wrong when they're judging weight, and I think you can't be intimidated to be incorrect. You just have to go with your gut and go with your eyes are telling you, and the more you practice it, the more you'll improve.
Hey, Jocelyn, one last question, and we'll send her back to Jimmy. It's got to be the same for playing, I imagine, as commentating for me in the booth. Mixed doubles is so different than four-person curling as far as pace of play. From a competitor's point of view, how can you possibly get used to both? From one week to the next week, it's just a completely different style of game. How does it work for you on ice?
Yeah, I think because my roles are so different on the two teams, it's, it's totally shifting the mindset. But yeah, the pace of play is fast, but it's really fun. Brett and I think, communicate really well. You know, when we're yelling down the sheet together, but we're so comfortable with kind of our game plan and typically what we're gonna do that, for the most part, I have a pretty good idea of, if the rock stops here, this is generally what we call. Sometimes he'll pull one out of left field and I just roll with it because you don't have time to question it or say, this isn't what we usually do or the turn we usually throw. You just kind of gotta roll with it. Trust him.
Jocelyn, I guess I'll ask you both. One of the toughest things about the sport of curling is the pressure. It's not like a high-speed game in hockey where you don't really have time to think. You just have to react. Curling's certainly unique in the sense that you're going to have to get down in the hack again, and you're going to have to throw one shot or the other. Can you take us inside your head, Jocelyn, when you do get down there? What do you think? Is there a 1, 2, 3 process? Is it 3 deep breaths? How I grip the handle or what? How do you handle it? I mean, you're one of the best in the world, so I want to know. Because I have an event coming up, okay?
I mean, I've worked with sports psychs since I was 14, but one of the main things was always like focusing on my pre-shot routine, and that was a big thing for that event, and making sure that I was present enough with my thoughts that I could be very aware of every step of my pre-shot routine and make sure that I kind of went through that every single time I threw. And yeah, part of that, is kind of like a scripted deep breath before, as I'm cleaning the rock and things like that. But it's, yeah, just making sure that you're, I think, working hard on training the mind and where you're letting it go and, not letting it go to how important the shot is or, if you win the event, what that means. Just, staying really focused in, the exact steps of my pre-shot routine that help me make shots.
God, if it relies on training the mind, Kevin, I got no shot. How about you, Brett? What's the process?
Yeah, a lot of my mental training has been on meditation, honestly, and just focusing on breathing and staying present. And when those thoughts come in your minds, just trying to note that they're there, but then refocus on the things that are at hand and what you're going through. So it's pretty easy for the mind to wander when those big carrots are kind of at the end of the game, what it might be, but just bringing it back to kind of where you are and focusing on the task at hand. And yeah, it's obviously a skill you kind of develop and you build throughout your career.
Meditation. Again, I don't stand a chance. I got no attention span. How did you guys meet? Can we go that far back? Was it what the first? Well, maybe. First date? What was the first date, Jocelyn? What?
Our first date was like before pre-event practice of the 2016 Canadian Championship. Brett flew in, yeah, like a couple days early before we drove to Saskatoon for the event, and we went for dinner because we were practicing. And I wouldn't call it a date because I don't think we knew we were dating at the time, and we were maybe dating by the end of the event.
Very successful week it was.
Yeah. Well, listen, you two, thanks so much, and a huge congratulations. Brett, you had mentioned about the stuff with the flag on your back. It's speaking of pressure, and we couldn't be in better hands. It sounds like than having you two going off to probably going to represent Canada, but there might be some other curlers who have something to say about that. But congratulations again, you guys, and good luck going ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having us on.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Good luck in the rest of the year.
Thanks.